main points of this product is to maintain continual support of fat metabolism and lean body mass, but also, very importantly, to really get the body in a relaxation mode and anti-stress mode and really support a good night's sleep, which I think most of you know is critical just for overall health and well-being, and also very important for the body to, resynthesize muscle tissue, and really as important as working out is rest and recovery. And I think a number of franchisees in their when they've been on the calls, like Larry and others, really supporting the fact of rest in recovery. So the product has really two key blends: the nighttime burn blend with the four main ingredients. That was kind of the theme, this kind of running theme of this series of kind of four cornerstone or key ingredients that really has been supported by good scientific evidence to be beneficial and evidence-based in fat loss and also, in the recovery process. So we do have the four main ingredients in this product, which is the L Carnitine, 7-keto DHEA, Garcinia, cambogia, which actually is a source of hydroxycitric acid from that particular herb, and again, the benefits of chromium. The nighttime blend is very unique. It has three primary ingredients: L-theanine, which some of you may or may not have heard of. This is a very beneficial ingredient derived from tea, valerian root, and melatonin. I think personally that the relaxation and sleep blend is probably as important as the burn blend, because it really kind of gets the body in a relaxing state. We do have a lot of products with caffeine in them. It does take several hours for the body to really clear and metabolize caffeine so that it doesn't have that effect on the brain in terms of alertness, and really gets and prepares the body for rest, relaxation, and really supports the onset and also the quality of sleep, so an individual does get a good night's rest, and that the body can kind of take over from the various hormones I mentioned before. Like on surge, that growth hormone increases and actually peaks during REM sleep, the rapid eye movement sleep, etc. So let me go through kind of quickly the key ingredients in the formula. L-carnitine is a critical essential ingredient for fat metabolism. In fact, you cannot burn any of the free fatty acids that come from fat without carnitine. And all the research, the references, if you can look at the key references on page 2, references 4, 7, 8, and 9, and there's many, many others in the literature supporting why carnitine is so beneficial, because it's really essential and critical for fat metabolism to take place. Your body will not burn fat or metabolize fat without carnitine, and biochemically it's well characterized. It's involved with this very complex shuttling system called the carnitine shuttle, which actually piggybacks or shuttles free fatty acids from the cytoplasm of cells into the mitochondria, which are these cellular organelles that are the powerhouse of cells that really generates and produces ATP. And there's a whole series of very interesting enzymes. Many of them several of them are rate limiting. And carnitine, in terms of weight loss, is critical. And it's really important there. So we do have carnitine in this product, and really supports carnitine in the extreme product. We have 200 milligrams of that, so it's kind of a continuous source of carnitine. The next ingredient, which is probably the key ingredient in the formula, is called 7-keto DHEA. And I've invited Scott Stile from Humanetics Corporation as a kind of a guest to really talk about this ingredient.
7-keto, just a little history. It was actually developed in 1988 is when it was discovered, and we were working with a researcher out of the University of Wisconsin. Interestingly enough, it was launched as an immune product for people with AIDS. It has some immune-enhancing benefits, and that was the path that we started. That was pre-DHEA Act in '94, and as we started to continue down the path, we actually figured that we could launch it as a dietary supplement. We did so in 1997, and we did okay in the immune market, but we started to notice some very interesting weight loss properties in people that were using the product. So we spent a bunch of money and time doing some good clinical work in terms of what does 7-keto do in terms of helping people lose weight. And jumping to today, really, that's 95% of our customers are using it as a weight loss ingredient. In a nutshell, in terms of what 7-keto is and how does it work, 7-keto, as probably everyone on this call knows, it is a metabolite of DHEA. Importantly, though, it's a downstream metabolite of DHEA, meaning that it cannot reconvert to DHEA, which is important from a safety standpoint that I'll cover in a minute. Specifically, what the product does is it enhances three specifically key enzymes that help in thermogenesis. And maybe picking up a little bit where you left off with the L Carnitine, Dr. Harvey, in terms of it's important to break down that stored body fat into fatty acids. Equally important is breaking down those fatty acids into something called acetyl-CoA, which is essentially the fuel that drives our Krebs cycle, and we make ATP or we make heat energy. 7-keto specifically works on that pathway, breaking down the fatty acids and converting them to acetyl-CoA. And from a numeric standpoint, we know that the enzymes that make that happen, when 7-keto is in the body, we know that those enzymes are accelerated 3 to 10 times their normal level with 7-keto present versus when it's not. Secondly, very interestingly, that in terms of the age-related process in our bodies, 7-keto is naturally found in the human body, and it is declining with age quite dramatically. So when you're 40, you basically have lost about half of your endogenous or normal DHEA compared to when you were 20. And when you're 60, it's actually dropped by about 75%. So replacing the 7-keto with a product like the Quadra Cuts Night Time is really just giving part of the body back what nature takes away with time. And it's one of the reasons why it's tougher to lose weight as we get older. Above and beyond 25 years old, you start to lose that enzymatic activity. So again, in a nutshell, 7-keto is going to enhance enzymes that help break down the fatty acids and convert them into acetyl-CoA. And secondly, and this is tied into the enzymes as well, we know that 7-keto also can shift what we make in the mitochondria to make a little less ATP and burn off a little more heat. Therefore, the fact that 7-keto is a non-stimulant thermogenic fat burner, we're increasing the heat production, which when you are in a weight loss mode, that is a really, really good thing to have happen. Because our body just makes more heat and it dissipates out through our skin, and it's a very inefficient use of calories. What does that mean? Why is that important? And there have been 11 human clinical studies that have been done on safety and efficacy of 7-keto. All of those have been published, by the way. There's 34 total articles that cover 7-keto and the science behind it, but 11 human clinical efficacy studies, making it probably the best weight loss product on the market of having good published data showing a statistically significant benefit. And what we basically found in our clinical studies, first I'll cover safety. We know that 7-keto does not affect any of the sex hormones, and because it is classified as a steroid, because DHEA is a steroid, 7-keto is as well, it's important to just note that 7-keto will not affect testosterone or estrogen, which maybe for some of your customers is not a good thing, but for us in the weight loss marketplace, that's a positive, because we are not an anabolic steroid, which makes us very, very unique in that class of products. So from a safety standpoint, you don't have increases in testosterone or estrogen, and we know that people have used 7-keto for years, and we've never had a serious adverse event reported to us. So we do have a published human safety study in escalating doses that confirms that the product is safe. I'll also mention that we did file 2 new dietary ingredient applications with the FDA. Both of those passed successfully. So we're one of the few companies that have actually gone through and filed a new dietary application with the FDA and passed twice successfully. And really, I think that the meat, and this is where I want to kind of focus on now, is in terms of the efficacy and then what can you relay to your customers. What we've shown there's 2 or 3 key human clinical studies, all of which have been published, that show that 7 keto, when added to a regimen of diet and exercise, which is always our placebo, we have never done a study that you just take 7 keto and see what happens. It's always in conjunction with diet and exercise. Adding 7 keto to that regimen will basically increase the amount of weight that people lose by a factor of 3. So you get 3 times more weight loss with diet and exercise alone. The average weight loss in our clinical studies was about 5 pounds above and beyond that of placebo, which again was diet and exercise. Studies were 2 months in length, and it's great that we have 2 studies that back up 3 times more weight loss when using 7 keto in conjunction with diet and exercise. So that's probably the biggest message that you can bring to your consumers. And really, when you compare that result with many of the other weight loss ingredients on the marketplace, that is a top shelf result. Not many products can match what we have, and again, this is published clinical data. So that is the first amount. Secondly, the weight that was lost, 80% of it was pure body fat. And that's a great thing, obviously, from a health perspective, is you want to cut, you want to get rid of that stored body fat, but you also don't want to destroy lean muscle mass. And we know that 7 keto did not touch lean muscle. It was basically 80% fat loss, and the rest was water weight in our studies. So there's no destruction of lean muscle mass, which I think is critical for your audience. And the third, and this again is getting into the key message, but it was a totally different study, and it has to do with increasing metabolism. And most of the time when you talk about products that can increase metabolism, you think of the stimulant class of products, which certainly in a nighttime formula you do not want to have. 7 keto was able to increase resting metabolic rate by about 5.5%, and yet there's no stimulant mode of action. An interesting aside is if you look at the Activator data on increasing metabolic rate, it was about 6 to 8%. Obviously stimulant-based, and there were some safety concerns that obviously took that product off the market, whether right or wrong. Definitely some risk in terms of using stimulants. With 7 keto, you can deliver an increase in resting metabolism about the same rate, or about 20% lower than Activator, but without a stimulant mode of action, so you can still get a good night's sleep and yet not give up on increasing that metabolism. That was a published study that was about 45 people, and was a crossover design, so all the patients or all the subjects went through both the placebo, which was a low-cal diet, and then that low-cal diet plus 7 keto. The message that could be conveyed to consumers is really focusing on the fact that 7 keto, in addition to all the other things that are in the Quadra Cuts Night Time formula, is basically going to offer your consumers 3 times the weight loss than diet and exercise alone. 80% of the weight loss is going to be pure body fat. An increase of key thermogenic enzymes 3 to 10 times normal activity, and then finally increasing resting metabolic rate 5.5% without the use of stimulants.